that easy, though?
I just need to support you guys because you guys could, use any kind of financial support possible. Anyways, let's go into game number 1. We're done stalling. We were buying time because we were told that the series was still getting set up. We got BloodyFace versus Orange. Or should I say Bloody Arm? What happened to his wrist? Is he okay? Can he still compete?
I'm a little concerned.
It's a one-handed esport. We're good.
But that looks like it's his right hand. And if he's right-hand dominant, this could cause issue. I do believe that the...
he's playing. He's
a gamer.
Yeah.
I do believe the thing is reversed, though, because I don't believe BloodyFace has a Paladin inside of his lineup. Yeah. So it's going to be Orange on the even Paladin and BloodyFace on the Malygos Druid.
Yeah, we've had a couple of instances of that, but we'll swap it just in a sec here. Even Paladin, the deck that we were talking about, people don't really respect even Paladin nearly as much as odd Paladin, but yet if you look at it statistically and you look at tournament results right before Roscon's Rumble dropped, even Paladin was killing it. It was represented in the top 16 of some of these events like DreamHack Atlanta, DreamHack Winter, and it was like sometimes a third of the field in terms of how many players were able to have success with it.
And we talked about this previously, when we weren't, on the desk. It's partly because a lot of people sleep on it, but it's very consistent in what it does. You almost know turn after turn the appropriate play for it, and it's going to maximize each turn to its fullest. It will always have that turn 1 play, which is very important. Most of the time it curves out into that Corpse Taker with Blessings of Kings, and sometimes it's just too much for decks to deal with, especially against Druid. Druid's one of the classes that struggles the most into even Paladin, and I think that's part of the reason why even Paladin has seen quite the success it has.
Yeah, that's really strange, right? Because on paper, if you get cheap 1/1s, wouldn't that make you more susceptible to Spreading Plague? But it's not necessarily the case because unlike Odd Paladin, you can deal with Spreading Plague fairly easily with equality plays or leveraging your existing board with big buffs. And one of the most powerful packages that's very underrated in Hearthstone is Corpse Taker. I think a lot of people think about other neutral packages that involve like the Lich King or Ziliax and like Cube and Eggs. But Corpse Taker also has quite the big punch, especially in Paladin that has ways to buff that minion and get big Wind Fury damage.
Ooh, and a very early use of the Moonfire here. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this, because a lot of times from what I've seen, the Malygos Druid needs to assemble its burn to end this game, because even Paladin's going to have, just gas after gas. So I'm not sure how I quite feel about using the Moonfire that early, especially when, it's just a 2/2. You can just easily hero power down the 1/1.
Yeah, I think this is an analysis of his hand size, because he has Nourish and Ultimate Infestation, but he also has a couple of cards that will draw or stay stuck in his hand. Alex Raza is probably not going to get played very easily if his opponent is built up barreling down the board. And then things like Ferocious Howls, especially since he has 2 of them, just keep his hand size still relatively high. So he's feeling like, I don't think I win this game especially if Malygos is in the bottom half of my deck. Maybe I win this game by just stabilizing in life and just trying to do Druid things, which is not a bad game plan, because honestly, Druid things is the reason why it has 25 archetypes viable on ladder right now.
Druid things is the reason why Druid is so strong. There's no other way to put it, Dan, but Druid things. You ever seen like one of those little like it's like a meme on the internet where it's like just girly things, but it's just Druid things.
One of my favorite Twitters from like 10 years ago when I first discovered this site was Stuff Girls Say, or Stuff Guys Say.
Stuff Druid does.
Yeah, it's just really funny because they just take like generic statements that you always hear, and they would like, like, does this make me look fat or stuff like that. And it's just really, really funny. And we could do that for Stuff Druid Does.
I think we could do that as well. So if anyone's listening out there, I claim the rights to Stuff Druid Does, and nobody can take it.
Yeah.
If you take it, I will find you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how IP copyright law works on the internet for sure. Dibs.
I've got dibs. No takesies, backsies.
So in Arch's position, he has 2 True for Silver champions and a lot of power curve in the mid stages of the game. So what best sets him up for that? And looks like he's acknowledging how Spreading Plague is kind of a really big nuisance.
Yeah, you saw him trade off one of the 1/1s just to kind of, you know, note that spreading plague. It also helps with the following turn. I'm not sure if BloodyFace is actually running a copy of Mind Control Tech in his list, but he definitely wants to get one of these 6-drops down, you know, either the Steed or the Karen Bloodhoof. And if Mind Control Tech is in the list, then it's more beneficial to get that 1/1 gone now. That way the Karen can easily come down next turn.
Nope, that's a really good point, too. We've seen a couple lists today that didn't have Mind Control Tech, so that is probably the #1 reason, too. And then the second reason is reducing the power, spreading plague, stopping his momentum.
Druid things.
Just Druid things. BloodyFace drawing with the branching paths. He could use this to gain strength a little bit with the Ferocious Howl as well, so that way he doesn't get pressured as easily. And his hand's shaping up pretty nicely. Lich King should be able to pick up something very useful. Then in Orange's camp, he's been setting up for this Cairn.
He was set up for the Karen last turn.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at the Spike Ridge Steed, and that is great
on the Corpse Taker. It's just specifically really good.
You're going to push a little bit more damage. The only issue with that play is you're very worried about a Naturalize coming out from your opponent. Just kind of, you know, basically stops your entire turn in a way. You kind of develop 6 mana for 4 damage.
Yeah. BloodyFace clearly wanted to just set up a nice Lich King, although this is starting to be a problematic board, to say the least.
It's one of the reasons why even Paladin, you know, has a favorable matchup is they make these sticky board states. I mean, most lists I would say don't run Karen Bloodhoof. That's probably why Orange included it in his list, is for, you know, maybe the mirror match, so that way it's stickier to deal with equality. Also, just, you know, having that guaranteed body for Spike Ridge Steed against aggro decks. Kind of goes back to, you know, a long time ago when Bone Mare was 7 mana, and Tempo Rogues would run Karen Bloodhoof just to guarantee a Bone Mare target on the following turn.
Could you remember, or could you imagine rather, if Bone Mare was still 7 mana and there'd be odd decks out there like Odd Paladin, Odd Rogue?
Could you imagine Odd Paladin with Bone Mare? Odd Rogue? Dan, you're putting everyone's worst nightmare into their mind.
I mean, we kind of got a sample of that with Tempo Rogue and Old Bone Mare. It kind of functions very similar to Odd Rogue, where you're just early on with patches, you would like destroy everything.
Could you imagine Odd Rogue with patches? Small time
I don't have
Buccaneer.
to. That does exist in Wild, and it's a good deck. Odd Rogue is super sick in Wild. At least when I last played it. I haven't played Wild in a couple months. Orange picks up Equality, which allows him to get past any big board very easily. So I wonder if he's just going to take his opportunity to ignore that Alexstrasza and just go all in, like play Tyrion, attack. The only thing is, though, his opponent's at 34, so it's not exactly like he's setting up a 2-turn lethal of any kind.
Yeah, but he definitely has to put the pressure on somehow. If he just kind of sits around and waits, it's not going to help him out. He needs to put on as much pressure as he can. So he's looking at the Crystal Kangor Smith and also Spike Ridge Steed, maybe onto the Silverhand Recruit, you know, to really make sure the Alexstrasza doesn't fit any damage through.
It's true. Double Naturalize could be a problem. Moonfire and Swipe have already been used, which is nice, which also means that his opponent's burst potential is significantly lowered. Yeah, I like this.
I like it too.
Tyrion's voice line, of course, pretty iconic to Hearthstone, but even more iconic perhaps the choir singing the background. Or perhaps the Stormwind Orchestra. In which case, this is a good opportunity to bring you guys the fact that this event is sponsored by the Philadelphia Orchestra. Have you joined the Young Friends of the Philadelphia Orchestra?
I haven't, Dan.
Well, the Young Friends membership program brings together dynamic young adults between the ages of 21 and 40.
I'm in between those ages, Dan.
That's a pretty big range.
But I'm between that range.
Half your life. Half of the average lifespan of a Western adult. With the love for music and a burgeoning interest in exploring arts and cultures and Ashbringers to the face.
Dan, I have a burgeoning
Best of all,
interest of bringing Ashbringers to the face.
Registration for the Young Friends of the Philadelphia Orchestra is free.
Is it at philorc.com? Is that the website?
philorc.org.
philorc.org.
/YoungFriends. Or you can just use the command !Young Friends for the link. BloodyFace is going to try to answer this Tyrion board. And Orange, is he going to press in? Is he going to clear the board? Oh, my.
Ooh.
Ooh my, this is a very interesting opportunity here for Orange to clear the board, to deny his opponent any pressure, and to get further ahead. But his opponent also showed an inability to deal with the board state either, right?
Yeah, you saw there that BloodyFace was having a hard time dealing with it. He's just trying to put as much pressure on the board. If you go for some kind of a quality Consecrate line of play, you're pushing through a lot of damage. I mean, maybe you don't even need to commit to that. Maybe you want to save the equality with the Avenging Wrath to try and push through those final little bits of damage through a Spreading Plague.
That's a good point. Get some of your more expensive cards out of your hand, like the
Spike-Ridge Steed.
Yeah, Spike-Ridge Steed, and the True Silver Champion needs 2 turns of swinging. Here's the thing, though. Your opponent also Ultimate Infestation to face. That's a kind of a scary proposition. You know, like, does he have Malygos already, and he's just waiting for a little bit extra
But remember, a Moonfire was used early on in the game.
You're right.
So I don't think Orange is necessarily worried about that. I think he's more so worried about potentially double Naturalize.
Ooh.
Is he respecting?
Trade.
I don't know about that trade.
Okay, so if a double Naturalize came down, that would be lethal with like a single swipe.
Would it? Okay.
Yeah.
Still playing around mind control tech. I like the conscious thinking behind that. I think Orange is in a pretty good spot to play around it. I'm not sure about the double trade though. I'm looking at.
So let me think. Or go ahead.
I'm just looking at BloodyFace's life total, and I've been told in the past by some pro players that even Paladin, you should play it kind of like a burn deck. In that sense, you should try and maximize how much damage you do and try and end the game with either weapons or Avenging Wraths or Consecrates, just something like that to burn him out of the game. And with Orange taking a lot of trades there, he's effectively giving BloodyFace more time to assemble either Dream Petal Florist plus Malygos or, you know, just a more combination of cards. I will say, however, Orange has a pretty intimidating board state that I don't even think he's worried about, you know, a Dream Petal Florist coming down.
Yeah, this is a very difficult board to remove, and BloodyFace already has shown that he does not have a Naturalize, so his best chance is Lich King into, say, a Doom Pact or an Obliterate. But even then, it'll be a very painful exchange, and now Orange can continue to press his advantage. He has... What's the max damage you can push here with Equality Consecration and True Silver? So that'd be an extra 6 damage on top of the...
I think Equality of... 15, I guess 21? The True Silver would do a little bit more than the Avenging Wrath.
Yeah, because Avenging Wrath only does 3.
Trying to find a cute play where you could like Wild Pyromancer and Equality off your Tyrion. I'm not quite finding it here. You know, I don't see the lethal puzzle here in this Boomsday Lab.
Right, it would have to be like Equality, trade the 1/2, attack, Pyromancer, Consecration, attack with the weapon. Oh no, Pyromancer, Avenging Wrath. Hold on, how much damage is that? So that's 14
so
plus 8
first.
is 22, plus the swing is 27. 27
is that
damage?
One damage
is
off
that 1
lethal?
damage off lethal?
Does he just go for it to set up a Consecrate on the following turn?
I think that might be it. I think he's trying to okay, you know, he's balking because...
Rope's burning. I don't think you get enough time to go for it.
Dude, that is a Boomsday. That's straight up a Boomsday lab puzzle. I think there could have been a lethal there, but I think Orange is out of time to like go over the permutations. And obviously, we're the caster, so we're never supposed to spot lethal.
I know. I'm surprised
we make it too
far.
easy for the viewers if we just
we always spot one off lethal.
Oh, I'm great at that. But if we could give you guys the lethal spots, then what's the point of watching all the time? You guys don't get better as viewers.
I like the way you're thinking, Dan.
Yeah.
We're not going to do your job for you, chat.
By the way, BloodyFace can't survive behind just a Scarab, so he needs Malfurion to gain armor. 5 plus the 3 armor is 8.
And then use it to kill off the Tyrion, which represents quite a bit of damage, but the Ashbringer can upgrade that True Silver Champion by 1, meaning it might be... I don't think it's quite enough just yet.
Oh, wow, the secret that was played like turn 4 or something like that, auto defense matrix. I totally forgot about that. And that's something that BloodyFace probably was factoring in too. Like, what if it was Redemption, for example, for a long time? But I think minions have died since then, so should have been fine, and he would have known.
But I don't think BloodyFace ever actually killed off any of the minions. I think it was always Orange trading off one of his 1/1s into something, so he wouldn't have actually known if it was Redemption or not. I think he was, just trying to hold off as long as possible to play around that.
Is this death? Let's see. 6, 11, 13, 14, 16?
So you can do Quality Avenging Wrath. Deals ultimately 4 to the face.
Yeah. No, looks like it's not really possible for Orange to get lethal. And I feel like the window's starting to slip a little bit.
I do, but the funny part about this matchup is if Orange finds a way to hold on to that equality, just tempoing out of Malagos is not going to be enough.
That's true.
And because BloodyFace early on used the Moonfire and has used like a couple swipes pretty liberally, he may not have the damage to actually end this game.
Well, that's a good point.
Plus, there's still a Crystal Kangor Smith on the board. If that thing ever gets Blessings of Kings, that means more life is gained.
Oof.
Oh, that's a little unfortunate.
That was one of the worst outcomes there for Orange. We're pretty sure the 1/1's going to die, but you want to be able to push through with a little bit more damage instead. Has to waste a swing with the Ashbringer. Naturalize finally comes to the hand. Karen has survived for God knows how many turns now. And that's like the worst part is when it dies, it summons 2 more minions. Or perhaps that's a good thing, because then BloodyFace can get use out of this mind control tech finally.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. You could go for a naturalized play onto the Karen, and then go for spreading plague mind control tech. That could be a potential lineup play.
That's a big swing.
I think that may be what BloodyFace has to go for here.
Yeah, Naturalize will create a Bane Bloodhoof plus the Stegodon. And then you steal, ideally, like, the taunt minions, perhaps? Maybe his strong, yeah.
Maybe even minions. Crystal Kangor Smith, just so that, Orange can't heal that much more. I mean, it's a very little, minuscule thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, too.
It does mean that, potentially later on, when you try and get to that Malagos, you can end the game.
Well, I guess that just means that you're okay with stealing almost any target, then. And I think BloodyFace has to make a decision. Spreading Plague #1. He's being very cautious extending onto the board.
I think it's not necessarily extending onto the board, but I think it's he doesn't want to give him cards with Naturalize. So he's trying to prevent that from happening.
That makes sense, too. I mean, who likes giving their opponents 2 cards?
I've had to Naturalize a Flame Imp, and that just doesn't feel good, Dan. You ever Naturalized a Flame Imp?
No, I always have Spellstone on one.
Oh, okay. It does not feel good. It does not.
Just draw, LOL. But I know what you mean. Like sometimes you recognize that Naturalize has to be cast in an awkward spot. I mean, I don't know if you were playing Hearthstone 3 years ago now when the Grand Tournament came out. And we had to like mulch Flame Imps as Druid. It was terrible feeling.
I played casually back then.
Yeah, it was like coin wild growth, and you're like, I can't do anything against this 3/2. It's going to hit me until for like the next 5 turns I don't kill it.
Sometimes it's just correct.
Yeah.
Speaking of Spellstone.
Well, the situation hasn't really changed. In fact, Orange literally didn't do anything except attack with what he has. He kept his minion count stable. He didn't hero power. He didn't use any cards. I wonder what that makes BloodyFace think. It might make him feel like, one, he's holding better stuff, but he's just trying to force my removal. Or maybe BloodyFace, like, he certainly has the equality now, but he's trying not to use it because that wasn't very good opportunity for him to use it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what Orange's hand could be to kind of make you hold back. So I think you can obviously put it on an equality. I think you would hold on to that card. I think you would hold on to a very weak minion or something to clear off a Malagos. So you can put him on the Wild Pyromancer and potentially an Acidic Swamp Ooze because he would hold on to that, for that Twig of the World Tree, maybe at least 1 copy. And he doesn't want to extend into Mind Control tech. So I think BloodyFace may have a good read of what the entire hand is, but Mojo Master Zihi.
That's a really good pickup. But let's think about it. So if you play Mojo Master Zihi, what do you shut off from your opponent? The opponent doesn't have Twig, so the opportunity for him to drop is better now than it is later. But at the same time, your opponent can still play like Spreading Plague, and you're stuck in the same exact spot.
I mean, to be honest, you could just leave up both the Mind Control tech and the Bloodhoof Brave. I'm not sure what the minion is called.
Bane Blood.
Bane Bloodhoof. Play the Mojo Master and just kind of push it face.
Yeah, it makes sense because BloodyFace can't let these minions won't die easily, so it's not like there's going to be many Scarab tokens. I like that idea.
Push it face. You kind of set up for quite a bit to be lethal.
Oh man, how painful was that missed damage when the Ashbringer had to go into that remaining Scarab now? Like, that was a 4 damage difference.
Yes, that was a huge swing.
BloodyFace would be at 7 instead of the 11. He'd be at 2 instead of the 4. It's a big difference.
It'd be a much different game.
Now Naturalize feels really bad. Yes. You're just super scared of, like, you're giving your opponent lethal. So it does look to me like some kind of Spreading Plague turn. Or, sorry, some kind. It is the only possible play for BloodyFace with that mana cost right now.
You could go Spreading Plague, swipe the 2/4, then...
We only have 6 mana, though.
Oh, I completely forgot. Mojo Master Zihi. You know, that's a card, Dan.
I was like, you can't do anything else besides... I was like, some kind of Spreading Plague turn. So I was like, Spreading Plague, Nationalize Hero Power, Spreading Plague Swipe. I was thinking about that, too. And I'm like, no, that's actually... He can only Spreading Plague.
He can only Spreading Plague.
I mean, he could... I think in his mind, he could still survive if he goes for some kind of removal plan. But it just feels so dangerous given the context of what Orange could do right back to him. Let me look at Orange deck's list real quick.
He's just going to swipe and Hero Power for armor. That's a potential line of play. He could swipe the 2/4, then clean up the
Well, now he's like out of time.
Yeah, he's out of time, so I think he has to commit to this. I don't even mind the bump onto the 2/5 here.
2/5, 2/4. Oh, not 2/4.
The Mind Control tech into the 2/5.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think it's too scary. If you go for swipe removal and you don't remove everything, like, doesn't one Blessing of Kings just ruin you?
Yes, I think you have to go for the Spreading Plague here.
Yeah, or Valenier. Orange gets Hydrologist. That is definitely one of the weakest draws right now.
Find an eye for an eye. You know, get that sneaky, sneaky lethal in there, Dan.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much going on in terms of the low end of Orange's curve, so that was kind of an unfortunate draw for him. In this scenario, I mean, he already has some of his most powerful cards having already play with Tyrion and the Spikered Steeds.
I'm trying to think what else he has, you know, left at the top, and he's got a Valenier, a Terran,
a
Lich King, a Wind Fury Harpy.
Yeah, Wind Fury Harpy.
Heck, even Gen Greymane just to play a 6/5.
Oh, Hidden Wisdom is also potentially like a nice way to mess with your opponent because it's like BloodyFace can't really play multiple cards in a turn, and Druid tends to just go off, you know. Crystal Smith Kangor, by the way, being very clutch. Orange practically at full life now.
I don't know if BloodyFace is going to have the necessary damage to close out this game. We've also seen both Spreading Plagues used, so there's not much more in the line of defense for BloodyFace here. I mean, sure, he has, you know, a pretty great swipe, but he's not doing anything else.
Yeah, but Orange is also out of gas, so BloodyFace could just win through, like, an Ultimate Infestation and just protect his 5/5 type play, you know?
He's a couple turns away from that, though.
Sure, but you get what I'm saying. It's like
course.
He can just win through brute force, no like particular synergies or combos.
Just Druid things.
Just through things. Good attack first to see if it's Autofix Matrix, Redemption. Now the swipe is very powerful in this spot.
Would also rather fit a Hero Power in than going for the Nourish, is what that tells me.
Yes.
Death is eternal.
Yes, that's a good point.
My turn.
I'm not
Do you
sure.
want to trade here? Trade? I mean, you feel like your opponent's down to his last few cards, so I'd rather just drain my opponent out of resources.
I think so as well.
Yeah. This is the power of Malfurion.
I am a little curious, though, if, you know, Nourish for Ramp was ever a consideration, because it would mean that you could get to UI, but I actually think that BloodyFace may be, you know, at a point where he can't afford to cast the Ultimate Infestation. He may not even have, you know, enough cards left in deck to really afford to do it.
Serenade Chain Gang picked up, and while Orange would like to just develop some kind of board presence, the problem is Serenade Chain Gang and Valenier is probably his win condition at this stage of the game. Like, when even Paladin can't close it, they don't have something equivalent to Hagatha for even Shaman, or Bloody River Gul'dan for even Warlock. They are at the mercy of, like, essentially closing out the game or missing their window completely. The one caveat is Valenier has the ability to go for, like, basically infinite value chains if you're able to attach to Serenade Chain Gang, because it copies the buff both times. And that's why Orange might be thinking, do I throw the Serenade Chain Gang just to gain, like, 6-7 health, or do I wait for the Valenier?
I think he has to throw it now, as unfortunate as that is. He has to keep fighting for this board. I think Valenier going onto 1 minion might be enough.
Oh gosh.
But BloodyFace is out of cards. I think the last card in his deck is Moonfire.
Right.
Unless we saw the other one.
In which
used.
case, I think that was the right call given what happened, because he's like saying this Moonfire might be better used as early game pressure relief, and that ended up being like super valuable, considering how close he is to death. If a couple things went differently, like let's say he didn't kill that Hydrologist and it did a little bit extra damage, and then the Avenging Wrath went in a little bit different way, he'd just be dead.
He would be dead.
It would have been the difference maker, because you would have been at 2 health, and then the Hydrologist could have maybe hit once or twice.
Another interesting point is to see how this endgame folds, because Orange has been holding on to Wild Pyromancer quality for that last final clear.
Right.
And once Orange loses these 3 minions, I'm sorry, once BloodyFace loses these 3 minions, if it weren't for the Frostmourne from Lich King, he would literally have no cards being able to play.
Yeah. Except the hero powers opponent down, but he's at fatigue.
Yeah, that's a bunch of hero powers. Especially, you have to deal with the board first. It gets a little messy.
The trade? Deny the Blessing of Kings?
I mean, he's dead too. I don't believe there is a second Avenging Wrath. A lot of players have been playing 1.
Valenier the next draw! Ah, it's so painful. Because the Valenier at this point,
I mean,
while
it's still
great,
just good.
I mean, it's still good, but the damage is not really that easy to get because Druid can just hero power. Actually, the fatigue. Oh my god, the fatigue is going to be the difference maker.
I'm out of cards.
Or is it? 4, 9 plus 6 is 15.
4 damage off right now. Does have swings with the weapon though.
What he can do though is play
My thoughts are
the actually no, I can't do that. I was like thinking, what if he snaps his or breaks his Frostmourne to summon a 2/3 and then. But it doesn't really change anything. Like by
I think BloodyFace knows that Wild Pyromancer quality are the last cards in hand.
Yeah.
The scariest part about this is he can't go for the Malagos play because he will just die. He needs to armor up this turn, so he has to play the Florist. If he does this, he has to commit the Moonfire onto the minion in order to push this Bane Bloodhoof face. That way he doesn't die to the 1 damage fatigue on the following turn.
But then he loses the Malagos burn.
Then he loses the Malagos burn.
Oh, he can go for a tie. We just drew Tarum. Oh, he doesn't have enough mana because he played Mojo Master Z. I didn't know my voice could go this high.
I didn't know it either, Dan.
Hold on. Orange, this is a 100% solvable situation for Orange, or solvable in the sense that he can understand all the possible outcomes because every card has been drawn. He knows UI is the last possible card. So Orange either accepts the draw or tries to do something really fancy, but I don't know if he has a chance to. Or he can play Valenier and then I think he can attack with Valenier and then play Sunkeeper Tyrion? Yeah, that's his best play. And then,
but then he just
BloodyFace doesn't have a way.
But then he just dies to double naturalize Twig of the World Tree plus hero power.
Oh, you're right. The double net? It's just one.
It doesn't even matter because he's just.
What?
I don't know how I feel about this.
No, that was right. That was wrong. That was wrong.
I think.
I forgot about the naturalize to just get past. He could have went for a draw. BloodyFace won the game with 1 life. You tell me that Moonfire play on and the Hydrologist didn't really matter. Oh my goodness.
That was crazy.
I think that
life,
game
Dan.
that game needs to be broken down on a technical level.
I mean, I think Orange more burn.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that would have been done differently, but going into the next
That
game.
it's just so funny how Mojo Master Z Heap is the reason Orange couldn't win that game. Because if he could Pyro Equality and then play the Tarim, that was it.
Yeah.
That was 100% one at that point. All right, let's go into game number 2. BloodyFace turns to Death Rattle Hunter. Let's see if he included any new cards. He has.
Give it to me straight, Dan. How many new cards?
He has.
Any Undastas in there?
You want to guess how many new cards he has?
0.
He has 0 new cards.
Psh, what do I win?
You get to cast the rest of the series by yourself.
Awesome. Well, everyone can please excuse Dan. He's now walking off to the stage. He's going over to the analyst.
I'm actually looking at his entire deck list for any
new cards.
He has 0 new cards.
What about the Caverns Below?
That is.
Is that an
Well,
old card?
it's been remade as a new card twice. BloodyFace picks up Deathstalker Rexar, one of the more important cards in this matchup if it goes long, and also helps you deal with those wide, pesky boards.
Ooh, Katharina as well. Going to be wanting to save that coin for that potential power play. The Candle Shot is good in this matchup, but it's not as impactful as it would be against something like Odd Paladin.
Right, because Odd Paladin's so board dependent, but even Paladin also has some individual threats. Wow. Even just hero power instead of setting up a Candle Shot. You know what's interesting? I think because if he uses Candle Shot to start cleaning up minions, things like Mind Control Tech will never be a threat. And also, this sort of makes it that Orange can't play a reasonable minion on 4 without the threat of Mind Control Tech. So say BloodyFace sets up Candle Shot and doesn't attack. But then you're open to Blessing of Kings. But then you're open to Blessing of Kings no matter what you do.
I think it's also maybe a nod to Acidic Swamp Ooze. Maybe BloodyFace is accepting the fact that Orange has Acidic Swamp Ooze and wants to try and play Candle Shot, Hunter's Mark in the same turn in order to clear up a large threat.
Right.
That way, you know, you kind of force Orange to play the Ooze in the following turn, which may affect his mana. I think that's a stretch. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but that could be something that, you know, BloodyFace is thinking about. I mean, we see how far ahead BloodyFace has been thinking about in the previous game.
Well, I think what he's trying to determine is what's the key swing turns that I can use to basically run away with the game. And it often pivots around how good your recruit strategy is. Like, you know, King Katharina pull out a Witchwood Grizzly or a King Crush to dominate the board. It looks like BloodyFace will end up swinging, but this ends up allowing Orange to do exactly this, which is set up the Corpse Taker. But perhaps he felt okay with that because he can coin out Ziliax.
And what this also did is if he had played the Candle Shot earlier on, then Orange could have played an Acidic Swamp Ooze, which means he would have no way to proc the Divine Shield onto the Corpse Taker to allow the Ziliax to kill it.
Oh, okay. I like that. Okay, I'm with you on that one.
That's some very heads-up thinking.
That's if that's actually what he ends up thinking, which hopefully Flake can get some words with our winner after the series. That'd be some pretty next-level stuff, but he does think about that. And I got a chance to sit down and talk to BloodyFace a lot at the Fall Championships and pick his brain, and he's just very cerebral with his approach. As many players are, but even more so, this guy is very much a deep thinker. He's not just like, this looks good and it feels good, and my experiences tell me it's just the right play. Because a lot of players do end up doing that.
Oh, this play dead, though. Oh, and he hits it.
Nice.
Holding on to that second play dead's pretty important, especially with Katharina in hand.
I mean, he did have Terrascale Stalker, but you're right. Like, it would have been really nice on turn 9 to guarantee that.
Or maybe a potential, you know, Carnivorous Cube draw could also help him out. You know, Playdead's much more versatile with that as well. Even holding on to the Candle Shot.
Not afraid of the Spikered Steed because he has the Spider Bomb. I don't think there's a Spellbreaker of any sort to punish.
No, most even Paladins don't have the room to play the Spellbreaker.
I mean, they don't even have much room to play, like, the others package that made it really good in the first place. Remember when people were playing Argent Commander and whatnot to like help pressure and get even Paladin like tempo and push the issue, but not really the case anymore. They just play mid-range package.
I think that's mostly just because, you know, how Druid functions now. And even Paladin, I really think, is brought for that reason of beating Druid. Unfortunately, it didn't. So now it's kind of, you know, looking a little bit sketchy for the even Paladin here.
What happens in a tie in Conquest? I actually haven't seen that. Last time I saw a tie was in last year's Standing, like years ago.
Well,
would they have to replay, or would they re-queue?
I just replay that matchup.
Oh, interesting. Orange does not have very good ways to deal with this. Consecration on just this Spider Bomb.
Yeah, Orange's hand is quite awkward. It's kind of weird that he had to commit to that, but it seemed like that was his best way of answering it.
Uh-oh. That's not what you want to see. BloodyFace drawing a big beast. Needs to keep those in his deck. There's 1 Charge Devil Sword, 1 King Crush, 2 Witchwood Grizzlies. A string of awkward draws could render the Katharina Winter Wisp a lot weaker. But you know what 1 card could make it all come together?
Don't you say it, Dan. Are you going to say it, Dan? Or do I say it?
You told me not to.
Oh, okay. Dan, you are now allowed to say it.
If they put Undasta, the Big Daddy.
Okay, now that you said it, I just want you to revoke that statement. Can you say it backwards?
Didn't put in Undasta?
I don't know.
I don't understand what you're requesting of me.
I want you to take what you said back. I want you to go back in time and reverse your statement about Undasta.
Okay, so
I don't know how that's possible.
If he didn't play Undasta, then he wouldn't be able to.
That doesn't sound right
handle
either. We need a time machine for this.
Deathstalker RX is perfectly acceptable in this position, and one of the big problems actually with this Recruit Hunter slash Death Rattle Hunter style is that you can run into awkward mid games because you can hold on to combo pieces, but you don't actually have an ability to really build your board in a meaningful way, right? You know, you have like mind control tech for tempo at this point, so I like using the build a beast option. Hey, who knows? Maybe you end up picking up the right exact silver bullet for the board state, and they develop into a big board.
Yeah, also the Rexar doesn't really get that much better in this matchup. It's not like Odd Paladin where you're kind of trying to save it for like a level up board state.
Yeah.
Against Even Paladin, you kind of just want to get it online right away that you can generate that value from it.
Yeah.
But I like the silver bullet because again, Greymane's a werewolf.
All right. Well, BloodyFace, is he going to try and fight for the board with this Shaw, or is he going to hero power?
I mean, the
grab
issue is
the bowling ball by the horns.
The bowling ball by the horns.
That's what the hand position looks like. It's like he's.
I've never heard grab the bowling ball by the horns before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant. You know what I meant. Halazi was an option there, but it's a little bit expensive. I think he might have prioritized a lower cost minion. Hunting Mastiff has to feel appealing if you pick the cheap minion, because then you could maybe play it for on the following turns.
That's actually not a bad minion itself. It's most likely going to die off next turn, as you will be able to get Wind Fury. It will kind of
Oh, but does it though? You can keep it.
Can you keep it alive?
Nah.
It has Wind Fury, so that kind of throws it out the window. If it didn't have Wind Fury, it'd be kind of a liability, because you're right, there could be a play where Orange just Spike Ridge Steeds the 1/1.
I was thinking about keeping it alive, so that makes it complicated for your opponent. But
yeah, but there's no way. Unless BloodyFace chooses to keep it alive.
Spike Ridge Steed to 3/4?
Spike Ridge Steed is 3/4, so he can't play anything.
So he can't get his minion. Oh my god, that is such galaxy brain thinking. I can't even process that.
That's a play BloodyFace with me.
Okay. That is disrespectful.
And then he would win the game because of it. Like, if my opponent can't play cards, they can't win. Lich King just looks so appealing here.
Lich King looks fantastic, especially because your opponent's at the Build-A-Beast phase, so if you pick up Frostmourne, it's very difficult for them to, like, play a beast and reasonably feel like they're in a good spot if it's expensive, and you could just steal them back. Egg is cool, but a little bit late to the party, and I think the best option right now to either deal with the Lich King is to rush stuff. You can Houndmaster, Devilsaur Egg, and play dead, but then you're accepting that Houndmaster Shaw is going to die.
Is there still King Crush in the list?
There is. King Crush, Charge Devilsaur, 2 Grizzlies.
Alright, so you're taking quite the gamble if you go for the Katharina here, because if you hit the King Crush, it's beautiful. It's a clean clear. If you don't hit the King Crush, you're giving your opponent another Lich King card and board initiative, which is a bit scary. The question is, does BloodyFace feel like he's that far behind that he has to go for this risk? I'm not quite sure. He could go for that play of the Houndmaster Shaw plus the Devilsaur Egg and the play dead in order to clean up the Lich King, but you're right. He sacrifices over Shaw.
Oh, King Crush was discarded through tracking.
Oh.
By the production. Apologies for not keeping track. That was turn 1. Turn 1 when BloodyFace chose the tracking instead of the candle shot. So, with that in mind,
I guess he would not play Katharina.
This is the only play possible. Spectre's D seems pretty good in this spot.
I think it's your most powerful play.
Yeah.
On top of, you don't really want to play Tarim just yet, as you give them basically a free egg proc.
Your opponent also used both their play deads. No cube has come down yet. Definitely dealing with the Houndmaster Shaw is a high priority in some capacity, and I want to keep Gen Greymane alive just for the board presence.
You could go for a play where you play Spike Ridge Steed, you value trade with the Gen Greymane, and then you heal it back up with the Death Coil.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
It's a cute play. It is kind of weak to Hunter's Mark, however, and I don't think you necessarily need to commit the Death Coil just yet.
No, that's a really good point too. Like, Hunter's Mark is still very much a problem, and 5 health is still the break point where it's tricky for Hunter to remove because they don't have like a flanking strike opportunity.
And now it's this awkward position again where BloodyFace is either forced to, risk it with a beast or make a very, very suboptimal play. It's just looking very grim for BloodyFace here. I mean, maybe he can magically build a mind control tech? I don't know.
Well, Build-A-Beast has a lot of really powerful options at their disposal, especially with some of the beasts that enter the pool. Like things like Halazi gives you so much ability to trade into the board state.
That is true.
Or even just having Spring Paw just for the rush effect on whatever beast you want. So
I completely forgot Spring Paw's in there as well.
they're just good minions. The only thing that's not good is the Gubarashi chicken, I think, that enter the beast.
Whoa. Gurabashi chicken.
Even then, it's not even that terrible.
There's both a Gurabashi chicken Stranglethorn Tiger.
Yeah. Or
it's almost
Jungle
like an
Panther,
angry, It's almost like an angry chicken Stranglethorn Tiger. That's one of the best beasts.
Yeah. Agreed. Valenier comes into the hand. I mean, this could be Orange's just development turn.
Should I?
He has a lot of minions on board too, so that makes Tarim really powerful. I was thinking like Valenier last night being his best, strongest development, but Tarim is also pretty sick in this spot. And but the thing is, Orange doesn't know King Crush has been discarded. Had he known, if he would know that, then he'd probably be much more likely to do this because there's only one possible beast for BloodyFace to recruit at this point, which is the second bear.
Yeah, I was trying to find some play with the Death Coils and all that kind of would lead to you clearing up the Grizzly while keeping the Gen Greymane as healthy as possible. But it didn't seem to, quite add up that way.
Yeah, I like holding on to the Wild Pyromancer as opposed to the 3/3. And apparently the second Witch was Grizzly was ditched too. Yeah, so that means that there's no minions that recruited off of Katharina's Death Rattle effect.
That was, I think, a little crazy from Orange to, kind of go for that play. But he did have the Death Coil in hand, so he doesn't know that the minions are burned. And if
Right.
it is a Witchwood Grizzly, he's not too concerned with it. And he can, I'm pretty sure he could clear up either minion that was summoned.
Yeah, he could use the second Silverhand recruit that got buffed to clear off the King Crush. So it was a very good play. And now BloodyFace has to rely on his existing hand, or he has to go bowling.
I like bowling.
Yeah.
Look for that Cave Hydra.
Cave
You
Hydra
gotta get rid of the
plus
7-10
Rush.
split on the board right now.
Yeah. Oh, wow, you actually know bowling terms.
I used to, when I was younger, I used to bowl in a professional kind of league for like children my age. I came in.
That doesn't surprise me.
I came in.
And I'm really sorry to hear that.
I know it was a lot of fun. I love bowling. I came in second in Virginia when I was 12, I think. I was actually pretty good at bowling.
Carnivorous Cube. Oh, ends up picking the Terror Scale Stalker to go for maximum board pressure. Recognizes that, hey, if you quality clear, you lose a pretty big board yourself. No attack with the egg, too. Keep it healthy.
Saving the egg just in case there is some kind of Consecrate play where the Wild Pyromancer can clear up the majority of this board state.
12, 14. 18. Nah, you can't get there. Guaranteed, at least.
Not even with the Death Coil.
Well, if you could guarantee Avenging Wrath goes face 8 times, you have lethal.
Oh, okay, so it looks like it's lethal.
Correction, only 7 times it'd be lethal.
Should
But it's still pretty bad. Yeah.
I believe it was about 2 off lethal with the Balanier and
Yeah.
the Death Coil.
This is kind of the power that we're talking about with the Pyromancer, like doing that extra damage, clearing off just 1 extra minion. Pretty solid, and Hunter's out of cards, so they have to rely on comeback mechanics through the Build-A-Beast option.
And see, I just like the pure aggression of trying to clear as much of the board as possible and just keep pushing at face.
Well, clear worked. I don't think it worked out the way he wanted to, but that's kind of what we were talking about. And now we have to build a beast to make a comeback option.
Blowbat. Woo! Scale Hide.
Scale Hide is exactly it.
It doesn't clear itself off, though. I think you can take the Hunting Mastiff to kill itself off.
Oh, you're right.
You have
It's
to
too
kill
much
itself
health.
off because it has too much health.
It's too much health. It has 4 life, and the highest attack is 3 on the board that it can trade into. So the Hunting Mastiff is the choice.
You don't have enough mana to go Vicious Scale Hide and also play the Flanking Strike on the minion.
Yeah.
All right, so still got a game. Well, we can see the Valanier, and the Death Coil is going to end it. That was still
a heads-up play, though.
pretty nice bat build.
Yeah, because if he... well, he would have gotten the lifesteal off of the Death Rattle effect.
The issue is the Death Rattle doesn't die.
Well, he has to die in order to get past it. And if he Death Coils it, he deals 8 damage to the board. And so he gains 8 life. So he would have traded and gained...
He couldn't
3.
kill off his own Blowbat, though.
No, but you just leave it on the board at that point.
Oh, okay.
And then if he face has the Death on a Hunter or his Even Warlock. Even Warlock is the deck that we haven't really seen much of today, and it has gotten a lot of tools in the expansions that people are using, but we'll talk about that more as we come across it. For now, Orange is going to turn to his Shutterwalk Shaman against Death Rattle Hunter, and this is a matchup that can be very hard to win as the Shutterwalk Shaman unless you line up the removals perfectly. There's just so many threats that they can generate. You can't deal with the 5/5s very efficiently. But perhaps one way you can is if you're able to get off a nice curve with the Shutterwalk Shaman.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the Shutterwalk Shaman has to either rely on some kind of, valuable curve with Prince Kaliseth or hitting a very powerful mind control tech later on in the game. Or just, racing to Shutterwalk as quickly as possible. I think those are the 3 avenues that Shutterwalk Shaman can take. But you're exactly right. This is a pretty abysmal matchup, I would say, for Shutterwalk Shaman. I think it's getting closer and closer as, Shutterwalk Shaman players get more refined with their play, because I do think it's a very difficult deck to pilot at its maximum efficiency. But still a very hard matchup. There's not many great ways to deal with Carnivorous Cube and play dead.
Well, there is the Hex, but yeah, right. Like the moment you stick a big board, especially when you have Deathstalker Rexar, it just becomes really complicated.
Just playing the Acolyte out for one draw.
Yeah. And now you see like the real power of just playing this Terror Scale Stalker purely to have a 3-mana 3/3 on the board. Yes, you don't get to combo with the 2 Carnivorous Cubes or the Spider Bomb or the Catherine in your hand, but it complicated Orange's turn so much that he couldn't develop very confidently. And part of the power of an Acolyte on 3 is that you can utilize the draw and manipulate in a lot of ways that makes it really uncomfortable for your opponent, like if you have a Volcano, for example. Granted, BloodyFace, had he known he would have drawn Flanking Strike, probably would have been okay with just passing. But still, a very nice play there. Oh, he leaves the Acolyte, so he's like, you know what? Go ahead, Volcano me, bro.
Yeah, I think BloodyFace is fine with the Volcano. It means they have to commit the coin. It means that Orange has to commit the coin. If Orange commits the coin, then BloodyFace can just tempo out a cube. If the cube cannot get answered, maybe he picks up a play dead. He can also go cube play dead on the cube. And he's already baited out a Volcano. So I don't think Orange is going to want to Volcano this, so I really like BloodyFace's very aggressive play there.
All right. I think it takes a lot of discipline to not trade into an Acolyte in that spot. But now BloodyFace goes for maximum pressure. Realizes that that's the way to win.
So Orange can get one draw out of this Acolyte, but that's definitely not what you want to be doing with Acolyte of Pain. You definitely want to try and maximize your draw, especially in a matchup like this, where you're fairly unfavored and you're going to need maximum resources.
Well, seems like he doesn't have the Hex, so he can Farsight and maybe draw it. Bad news for Orange is that this is just the beginning of many. This is kind of like a miniature Savannah Highmane, if you will.
Oh, this is a dangerous Savannah Highmane. This one
Yeah.
summons 3/3s.
Well, because it would just, yeah, it has the opportunity to push out even more stats.
I will say, though, one of the things going for Orange right now is he has a lot of his pieces for the combo and a lot of life sustain. So if he finds a life drinker...
Now he can cube his cube and play dead that cube to summon more cubes.
It's almost like a Rubik's Cube at this point. It's a very scary Rubik's Cube.
I like the cube on cube action.
I like it as well.
I would pay to watch that. And now we have a lot of power on the board with no mind control text, only double Lightning Storm, which creates, you guessed it, more cubes.
Cube squared.
Cube squared.
I would pay to see that.
Whoa. That's the name of the movie.
For my glory.
Well, what does Orange do in this spot? Double Lightning Storm's not even a good, reliable clear.
You may just double whiff. Whiff
Yeah.
squared.
You could like, oh, if you roll 2 on any of the Lightning Storms, the cube will survive.
Yeah, you would have to double high roll it. And then you could also double high roll the wrong cube. And then if you hit the wrong cube.
The wrong cube spits more cubes out.
Spits more cubes out.
You're terrible.
And this is something you have to address.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
This is a fantastic line here from Bloody to just be aggressive with the tools that he has. Hey!
All right,
that works.
Okay. But you don't want to roll 2 2s and a 3. This could be very dangerous. Oh my gosh! Orange hit it perfect!
He literally could not have picked a better outcome of what just happened. Oh my gosh. Are you serious? Oh my god.
You couldn't have gotten better than that, Dan.
Wow.
That was the best 2 Lightning Storms I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh.
He's just going to stabilize because of this. I mean, there's still quite a bit of pressure, especially with Katharina waiting around the corner. But Wow.
I mean, all Orange needs, really, is the Life Drinker, and then he has the combo pieces assembled. No King Crush or Charge Elvish pulled out. That's another really good outcome here for Orange. Although, that is quite a pickup. Mind Control Tech Hex is a very powerful option, especially because you can steal Katharina or Q. Both have powerful death rattles in this spot.
It's actually funny. Katharina will pull Life Drinker out of the deck.
For my glory.
Engaging TC-130. Mental distance.
Oh,
Okay.
oh my gosh. What is happening this game?
This is disgusting, Dan.
Just a seesaw action. Non-stop. Just keeps going one way and the other. This Hex also pretty devastating. Although, I think Orange is pausing to think if he dies to just King Crush played from hand. It'd be 8 plus the 9 at 17. He'd be just barely alive. I mean, the alternative is to save this Hex for something else. You could Healing Rain, you could Coin Grumble, but those seem a lot weaker than just hexing in this
Yeah,
spot.
I think you have to commit to the Hex. You can even play the Gluttonous Ooze just to put the 4/4 body on the board,
I like that too.
and I like that as well. But Orange is gonna hold on to it. Maybe some more value generation with Hagatha, or maybe he plans to play out Grumble World Shaker anyways.
I like it because it lines up Hagatha a little bit better. In case you need to make trades, but shutting down Candle Shot could be also very useful. I'm looking at the deck list here from BloodyFace. What else can he really do in this spot? Not really much, especially since he doesn't have Undasta. And now the cubes.
I think if you're BloodyFace here, you want to try and push as much damage face as possible, though. I'm almost not opposed to just pushing everything face and hitting the Hero Power button.
Is there any beast? Oh, there is. There's a Life Drinker. There's a Life Drinker that comes out, and then you can kill it, so that way your opponent can't bounce it back for the.
What would be scary is if
Grumble.
Orange only had one Life Drinker in his list. He has 2. But
Okay.
there are some players.
you're
I made Dan look real quick.
Look, some people play one, like you were saying. Some people play one Life Drinker. That would mean that Orange has turned into Ice Cream Shaman. He has to just heal. I know he doesn't have a way to heal without that battle cry, right?
No. He would have to just Hagatha clear the board every turn and hope eventually he gets there in fatigue. And that does not sound like a great viewing experience.
No. Thank God no one brought Ice Cream Shaman. Would have been a very long day.
I mean, Hostage Shaman.
Hostage Shaman.
Take your opponent hostage.
That's a really good description of it. Yeah, freezing the most damage, plus Houndmaster Shot doesn't have good trades anyways. Ooh.
Spider Bomb does allow for a clear.
Does. But I think now would be the time you want to set up Deathstalker Rexar.
I think so as well. You can even weave in a Hunter Hero Power. So go Hunter Hero Power, Rexar.
That's
build a
true.
beast.
Although,
Trying to think of what beast you could build for
I would want a really cheap beast to try and kill off the
the Ooze.
ooze, because I don't know if I want to play Spider Bomb. And the thing is, you have to hard commit one or the other because you only have 10 mana. So if you commit to a Deathstalker Rexar Hero Power, then you can't play the Spider Bomb, versus you can play the Spider Bomb and be safe.
So the question BloodyFace can be asking himself here, is it worth getting 2 damage this turn and accepting that Shaw or Cube is going to die, or taking the risk that one of them potentially could die, but having a chance at building something small enough
It's
to clear
true.
it?
I mean, your opponent hasn't played a single Volcano yet, so Spider Bomb, Devil's Egg is also a completely viable option.
Maybe even
Because then your
keeping
opponent
that hero
can't clear
power.
the board. Yeah. No, you keep the hero power, you press the damage, they can't Volcano. I like this.
I like the restraint from BloodyFace, understanding that Rexar
I know.
is kind of like a last-minute option. We've seen
and there you go.
BloodyFace be very patient with his cards.
The Rock Better ends up playing out very nicely. And then he gets full removal. And now BloodyFace Probably a little bit, you know, unhappy with the fact that his board just got good, but he still has that punt option here with the Deathstalker Rexar.
He's got to go for it. Gonna try and build a beast cheap enough because I don't think that 2 damage is gonna matter that much right now. Definitely want something on the board. I don't think there's anything cheap enough with poison. Arthas.
Well, in his mind, Arthas gives him the chance to
Just
get
take
Death
the
Grip.
Shutterwalk.
Yeah, Death Grip and steal it, but it's often very hard to pull off.
But there's a chance.
There
In
is a
BloodyFace's world, in his mind.
Yep. Vicious Scale Hide gives Arthas the ability to attack. Having it have poisonous is really nice. One of the annoying things is BloodyFace doesn't have his cubes or his play deads anymore, so zombies can pretty much only come out one at a time here. Ooh, Manatide afterwards is very nice pickup.
I don't even know if you necessarily... I guess it's too appealing not to, because you may not need to Shutterwalk next turn. But there's some consideration for holding onto the Manatide for hand space. That's a King Crush to answer a Grumble. Because if you leave that Grumble on the board...
Right. If you leave that Grumble on the board and your opponent has
Yikes.
Shutterwalk. But here's the thing, no Life Drinkers were entered the pool. But then they're still going to just summon a bunch of Shutterwalks. It's still going to be like a board full of 6/6s. And you're going to be struggling from that point on.
The question for BloodyFace is, if he goes for a play where he definitely
going for it.
clears
He's
off
going for
this Grumble, could he win through
Well,
Shutterwalks?
He's
if they
going,
whiffed?
yeah, he's going through the Death Grip though. Doesn't get it.
Death
Zero
Coil
powers.
actually answers it as well.
It's true. Jewel Macaw. Jewel Macaw can give you the thing,
What's the thing?
the Swamp King Dread.
Ooh, now we're thinking.
Also, there's a lot of Loa that's been introduced, and that's something that no one really talks much about, but all the Loas are beasts. And Jewel Macaw can give you any one of them, so now I have to start searching my brain. It also just can give you
Are all the Loas
Udasta.
beast?
Huh? All the Loas are beasts. The champions aren't, like Princess Talandri and...
What about the Hunter
Zoltan.
one? Is that a beast? The
Yeah,
3-mana
Halazi?
0/3?
Halazi is definitely
Not
a
the
beast.
Link. Yo, we're talking about the. Oh, I was thinking of these the 0/3s.
The spirits.
The
Yeah,
spirits.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. They're the spirits of the Loas.
Oh, okay. All the
The
Loas
Loas
beasts,
are
but
the
spirits.
beasts.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking of the spirits.
And it's just like really funny to me that you could get any of those Loas. So I'm just like thinking, is there any legendary that can be picked up that can also help BloodyFace's cause?
And getting Halazi the Lynx might be enough, you know, just having the Lynxes rush into Shutterwalks if they fail. That's potential because
Yeah.
they will be down to
But he's not
3 health.
playing my Quest Hunter list that plays Toxmonger with that combo.
I'm
Oh, wow.
so disappointed in him, Dan.
Elementary reaction.
This
Did help
could get
draw again.
Serenite Chain Gang, which
Yeah.
would...
I think Orange
Increase
wants
the
to
odds.
like get that Life Drinker and get other things too, which... Oh, he's
surprised
gonna
if he
kill
kills
off
his
his
own
own totem.
Manatide.
Oh.
No, he just pushed the face.
It's like, kill off your own Manatide so you don't go into fatigue in case your opponent just keeps clearing your board. And there's a Life Drinker. Jewel Macaw was the choice for BloodyFace with the Skittering, the Vile Brute Skitterer.
Yeah, we'll be able to clear up this Hemet. Trying to think if there's any 4-mana beasts you'd rather play. Cave Hydra. It's pretty good.
Yeah, Cave Hydra. I mean, Gastropod's cool.
The only issue with that is you would need it to be on an open board that way you can really capitalize on it, because your
Right.
opponent can just value trade into it.
Hey, it's one of the
Oh.
Loas. Not
That
the one
way.
that's useful though. He's played almost all of his
Yeah,
spells.
Not really. I'm trying to think of what spells would even be beneficial to get back. I mean, maybe
Like
a
Hunter's Mark, Play Dead. Flanking Strike's pretty good. But those are just like solid value options. They're not like game-winning scenarios. So now Orange has to just not lose. Like, he understands how far ahead he is, and he's like, okay, so how do I like prevent throwing? Because I think Orange is well aware at this point that
I think so as well.
that game number 1 should have been a draw and potentially even a win.
I'm almost out of cards.
Like Orange could hypothetically already be up 2-0.
Also, the Orange may need to be careful
Yeah.
about how much he's drawing.
I agree. I like this Hex on your own frog. Or sorry, Hex on your own totem.
And maybe BloodyFace tries to find a way to capitalize on how many minions are on the board. I think it's going to be difficult to do. There's a possibility. You can tracking and then drag moth tracking back.
I mean, what does BloodyFace even have in his deck?
We're going to find out.
Oh, the Hunter's Mark. Get that back too. Ziliax. Flanking Strike's not bad either, but it's not amazing given that everything got buffed by the Kel'Seth.
Not only that, but also the Hexed Frog in the way, because Orange hexed his own Mana Tide, prevented Flanking Strike and Candle Shot,
Yeah.
so he can't efficiently get down his Zombies this turn.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That's kind of funny.
So now you can build a beast, or is he just going to play one of the big beasts
Might
he
just be
wants?
King Crush and ship it face.
Ship it face, hope your opponent doesn't draw Shutterwalk, but Orange is on his 29th card, so that means that
Shutterwalk will be guaranteed,
it's guaranteed next turn.
but it still could whiff. I think BloodyFace is trying to find the best sequence if the Shutterwalk whiffs, and maybe build a beast
Oh
for
boy,
a
he needs to go
low pad.
fast. Mukla. Oh, Arthas. I was
Arthas
like,
can find Doom Pact in order to clear off the Shutterwalks if they
oh,
whiff.
you're right, if they whiff.
I believe that's the last Serenite Chain Gang.
Yeah, I think so.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
Farsight's pretty dead.
Yeah, weak card. Zap.
I don't know about the Zap, however,
Oh, because
you're overloaded for one means you cannot play another Shutterwalk, which would give BloodyFace the potential to clear the board, and then it gives you another whiff of the Shutterwalk if you can't play it again.
No, that's a really good point. Tracking again.
Really looking for something. Is it Terror Scale Stalker? That way you can enable the Arthas, get 2 Arthas cards in the Death Rattle.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then Hunter's Mark remove. And then he can get 2 copies of it with their Cragmaw. Like Hunter's Mark.
He could get a copy of Death Coil with the Crag.
That works too. Although, but I think he likes keeping the card hidden so that Orange can't.
That is true. So he doesn't know. It could be Doom Pact. Maybe Orange, is so worried about that Shutterwalk card that he tries to play around it and ends up costing himself. Oh boy.
That's right. Orange forced to just play Shutterwalk on 9. And let's see what he got. Okay. Well, I mean,
but he doesn't have enough mana to replay the next one.
Oh, you're right. And
BloodyFace is going to give it up.
So that's going to be game 3. This is a grueling series back and forth. But now, remember, BloodyFace earlier this year quit his job to pursue Hearthstone full-time as a streamer competitor. His first season of doing it qualifies for the World Championship, so he already kind of hit his target. It's like, well, what do I do for the next, 7, 8 months? And he's like,
I could just go back to work.
He's like, gosh, so he's out here competing. But then to which I ask, why'd you come out here and play 0 new cards? Like, if you're ready to qualify for the World Championship, I say take a victory lap. Like, meme it up, put yourself out there. Like,
be out here for the people.
If we have thousands of people watching online, and if he was able to impress all the fans with some meme decks, it's a good advertisement for his stream. I don't know.
And then all the
I
people
should
at home
retire from
vote
casting
for
and be a
him.
brand manager for some of these Hearthstone.
I'm liking that. I mean, not only because I'd slide in right there. I'd become the Dr. J. Kibler saga. I don't know if anybody wants to live in that saga, but no, I was just gonna say, kind of crazy, taking a limb like that and then doing it on the first.
I respect the bravery. I think a lot of people always say they would want to do something like that. Like, oh, I'd love to make games my full-time profession, or be a pro player, maybe both. It's just hard to take that leap of faith. We're going to an even Warlock mirror, by the way, and we're going to see exactly what we described, which is the 3, 4, 5, 6 power curve from the even Warlock on BloodyFace's side.
It looks like Orange is just trying to play very weak minions just to put something in the way of this giant.
That is not what you're looking for, though. These are all support cards, and the Sunfury Protector has also kind of been rotated back into deck lists there, Dr. J. I've seen the Sunfury Protector being omitted for a while. Is it just because of the aggressive, like,
I think it's a rotation between the Sunfury Protectors and the Doomsayers. Doomsayers and even Warlock provide just extra stability against aggressive decks that you may not necessarily need. But I think a lot of players realize that they don't necessarily need those stabilization tools, especially with cards like Defile and Hellfire that can kind of get you there in the end. So the Sunfury Protectors work much better in mirror matches and control matchups where you can effectively force your opponent to play awkwardly. For instance, you taunt one of the weaker minions. That way they can't Spellbreaker your Twilight Drake and trade off, their weaker minion.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what's happening right here. The Sunfury Protector being very annoying for the Mountain Giant. The Shroom Brewer restores it back to full health, and Orange once again
it's not
under the gun.
Orange. This is, to be honest with you, Dan, this is looking like a game wrapped up already. I hate to call it this early, Dan. There is a giant that is stuck on the board.
Yeah, it's a giant stuck on the board, and there's more coming. That's like the
Yeah,
scary
it's not
part.
stopping.
Like the Twilight Drake or Dread Infernal, like these are all big threats. Oh my goodness.
Wow, you asked for threats, Dan, and BloodyFace delivered.
Now, Orange has a response with the Lesser Amethyst Spellstone upgrade. Also has a Spellbreaker on the Twilight Drake, which is very nice.
This is a tough call. Could go for Spellbreaker Defile. That's also another line of play. That way you kind of try and save onto the Vulgar Homunculus, for maybe another Spellstone drawn. I think you want to use a Spellbreaker this turn, as it's the most opportune time to clear up this Twilight Drake.
Yeah.
And, just maybe stage off the Mountain Giant hit for one more turn.
Preemptive trade makes it more difficult for BloodyFace to keep that Mountain Giant alive, but you also miss damage.
I don't think Orange can afford to not push this damage phase. He is pretty far behind.
He's very far behind, and he needs to use Bone Mare to close the game. BloodyFace, let's see. I think he kind of recognized the position that Orange is in with that trade too.
Heck, I like Dread Infernal just
Trade back.
I don't know about the trade. I'd consider pushing it face.
I like the trade because of how good my hand is, and my opponent just
true.
demonstrated a very aggressive maneuver when it's like you were ahead on board and he was refusing to trade with you. So I think that's a very strong indication that your opponent doesn't have many good options.
Especially because they just used Defile as well. So their best response to this would be their own Dread Infernal or Life Tap second Defile 4-drop.
Yes.
So the trade did seem appealing there, but I don't know. That giant, it had one destiny, Dan. That was the push 8 damage phase. Have you ever heard the term the big noise?
No.
I have a friend named Envoy.
Okay.
If you ever know who Envoy is.
Yes, I've seen Envoy.
Quite the memer. And he tells me that Giant has one purpose in life, and it's to make the big noise. That big noise is when Giant hits face and everyone claps for it. And you hear that big noise.
Gotcha, yeah. No, that's cool. I like that term.
Yeah, this is just not looking good for Orange right here. This just goes to show you how powerful having that early Giant and being on coin is. A lot of times, Doomsayers can kind of help out in the mirror match if you're on the play. You can set up a Doomsayer into their Giant play and then respond with your own Giant. The issue is, a lot of players, for good reasons, have cut the Doomsayers from their list.
7 plus 6, 13 plus 2 is 15. 15. If he had 2 Hellfires, would be able to wrap up the game here. But BloodyFace can just keep stacking his advantage. No need to rush.
I mean, can just go. I mean, a plethora of options here. There's
like
so many options.
Twilight Drake or something like that. Yeah.
I like it too. Just kind of heal everything back up. Push the rest face.
Face. Hooked Reaver has been shown. You're not nearly as afraid. You're setting up lethal. Orange does not have any access to board clears. And that should be the last turn of this game. BloodyFace ties it up. And if BloodyFace is able to finish the series with a 3-2 victory, I gotta wonder, man. Like, you know, was this a Throne series?
All right, well, game number 5. BloodyFace on the Death Rider Hunter Orange on that even Warlock. This is going to be a close one, Dan. I think it's going to come down to, you know, can Orange mount that Giant and can BloodyFace mount that early pressure with the Devilsaur eggs?
All right, so will those eggs be able to handle the pressure, or will they crack?
Well, I guess for BloodyFace, he kind of hopes they crack. That'll kind of help him out a little bit.
That's right.
Spider Bomb's a very good card, though. Spider Bomb will allow the contesting for the Mountain Giant.
Oh, man.
We can see that currently Orange does not have that.
It's
so
like Spider Bomb plus Play Dead plus the idea that Cube can help deal with any of those things, too. So it's a very powerful effect. Does BloodyFace want to hero power? Man, he is thinking deep.
This
and
is a
hard
hot
about
debate. If you commit to the hero power, you're effectively saying, all right, Hooked Reaver, you can come down 1 turn earlier. If you stage off the hero power,
right,
you're saying, all right, I cannot deal with the Hooked Reaver earlier on.
And sometimes you can be aggressive. You know, let's say you have tools to leverage damage leads, like you have Hunter's Mark, Candle Shot, plus board presence. Yeah, then in that case, you get Devilsaur by all means. Go ahead. BloodyFace has some removal tools, so he feels okay pressing just a little bit. Our admin walked over and he gave me a serious look. I hope I'm not fired because of that terrible read that I just did on the sponsor list.
That was hilarious.
It's like that episode on Community where they were sponsored by Subway and they had a guy named Subway like be the thing, but like whenever he was messing up his reads or his sponsorship, they pulled another guy and they replaced him, but his name was still Subway. It was like a completely different person.
I've never seen the.
You never seen Community? Oh, okay. It's a really funny show. I went to community college myself, which explains why I ended up with this career choice. BloodyFace picked up Gluttonous Ooze. Not really going to do much, but it is board presence. And I think what's important is how does he answer that Mountain Giant coming up?
I think BloodyFace is trying to find a way not to commit this Spider Bomb. He could commit the Spider Bomb here. It does leave himself open to something like a 2-drop, like Vulgar Homunculus or the Plated Beetle. We can see that Mountain Giant isn't in the hand, but just committing the Gluttonous Ooze feels a little bit awkward. But I think you got to do it, especially because you have Play Dead. If you didn't have Play Dead, it'd be a much more difficult decision.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But BloodyFace also seems to be a pretty meticulous player with the timing. He tends to rope a lot, which might seem a little frustrating, I guess, for viewers, but it does keep your opponent on their toes in terms of, like, what is he possibly thinking about? And at this level of play, everybody's thinking about every possible edge, which is, okay, he paused for 15 seconds off of his Shadow Visions. Does that mean he doesn't have the Mind Blast, or perhaps he's trying to mind game me? And it kind of messes with people's heads at times.
A lot of players neglect to remember how important mind games is, you know, in a card game, especially when you can sit across from your opponent. You know, we're here at a live venue.
They're pretty close to each other.
Yeah, they're pretty close. They may not be able to see
They're
each
close
other.
to us, too.
Yeah,
you can see us in the background sometimes.
Mind games are being played on me right now with, you know, Orange's frustration. I don't think BloodyFace can see you, Dan.
I know.
You've been waving at him. I don't think he can see you.
It's an Easter egg for the chat if they were paying attention to the top left of the screen.
Oh!
Because
I wasn't even paying attention.
BloodyFace can't see us. There's a giant screen blocking him from us, so it's not like we can go crazy.
Dan, can I get one more wave? A little bit higher.
I can't see it myself. Oh, I see it.
Okay.
What does Orange do to this board state? He can try to remove a little bit of it, but doesn't feel that great without a clean turn 4. Everything is like 6 costed. He's got Mojin Master, Dread Inferno, Gen, Mossy Horror, Skulking Geist. He's playing a Reno deck right now.
Looks like he's gonna use the coin.
Oh!
That was nice. That was nice.
Wow.
Using the coin
Style points.
in order to fit in a life tap.
Ugh. The punish, though. You just used Silence on the egg, and now Cube, which is the ultimate silence target, comes down onto the 5/5, which inevitably gets it anyways. But BloodyFace also has Spider Bomb now.
Ooh, flanking strike. I don't think Mind Control Tech gets too much value in this matchup. A lot of times it's really hard to get it down, so the Hunter's Mark with the flanking strike will allow the majority of the board to be cleared up if, you know, BloodyFace doesn't want to push that extra 3 damage while, you know, keeping the cube quite healthy.
That's a good point. So if you flanking strike Hunter's Mark, you can push 7 damage, which puts him into Hooked Reaver range. Not ideal. So you can trade the 3-1, put your opponent down to 18, so even if they life tap, they couldn't get the 7/7. That seems a lot more manageable. Plus you have 7 power representing on your board with the flanking strike. So you have a decent amount of damage on the board, even if they develop like a Twilight Drake, for example. So that seems reasonable to me. But then, you know, in the future turns, if you're using like flanking strike now, like how are you going to activate these Spider Bombs? I guess you could use them with Ziliax, like on 8 mana, you play Spider Bomb, then magnetize it.
Also, stacking Spider Bombs together is kind of cute. There's only one
That's
copy
true.
of Spellbreaker inside of Orange's list. So with that knowledge, BloodyFace can try and play around that.
So push to 18, set up to 7. But he's going to be sitting on an awkward turn on 7. So BloodyFace is going to hope that something draws to make to short up. Otherwise, he might just have to play a slower development turn.
Orange is just staring down so much pressure, and there's
Yeah.
not much he can do about it because he literally has all of the quote-unquote tech 6-mana cards in his hand.
That's right.
Like, you name a 6-mana
It's
card
like-
in Even Warlock, it is currently in Orange's
Yeah,
hand.
it's a very eclectic group of misfits.
Yeah, this is just in time for Christmas, too. You ever seen the Island of Misfit Toys? You ever seen that
No,
from
I
Rudolph?
don't know anything that you're
The
referencing,
Rudolph
man.
movie.
I feel like we're just on 2 different wavelengths. Like the pop culture references I make versus yours. I just don't. I'm sorry, man. I was also not allowed
The
to watch a
Rudolph
lot of.
movie.
I was not allowed to watch a lot of TV around
Okay.
holiday time because I was always traveling to family.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, in the Rudolph movie, there is an island of misfit toys that are all the broken toys that go there.
Oh,
And
these are great. These are actually like superstars. They're like specialists.
like I said, they're broken.
in
just
their
not
own
together.
right. All of these 6-mana cards are like pretty badass. You know, they like destroy certain win conditions of specific decks. Like Geist is
Oh,
really
of
good
course.
against
The Misfit
like Inner
toys were
Fire,
awesome, too.
Jado.
I think there was a helicopter that couldn't fly. That was kind of cool.
What's the point? A helicopter that can't fly?
I think a Jack in the Box that couldn't
That's
go
like
back in the
that's
box.
like hiring a caster that can't cast.
So they hire me.
Witcher Grizzly picked up. It's not going to be very powerful. How many cards are being held right now? 8? So because of 3,
Yeah,
4?
it's a baby grizzly. But what else are you really doing here? I mean, it's a difficult turn. Might just be, you know, committing the Ziliax trading.
Yeah. Would you even push the damage? I guess at this point, if
I
they
think you have to.
if they do play the Hooked Reaver, they can't really do much else. And then you have Spider Bomb to get past and push even more damage.
And you
twice
can
over.
also magnetize onto the Ziliax.
Exactly. For more damage. I mean, it helps. Spider like if your opponent doesn't play a taunt and you can stack the Spider Bombs, that's an extra 4 damage.
We can see
So
right
it is
here.
it is representing lethal.
It is. We can see right here, Orange does not have Hooked Reaver. The most he has is Vulgar Homunculus plus a Spellstone. And that does not feel good.
Yeah. Let's see. So anything else Orange can do? He has 1 remaining mana, but life tapping here feels rather suspect given the amount of pressure you've been under.
Yeah, life tapping is quite risky. You're definitely playing with fire at that point. Question is, you know, can he get there with this current health?
And what does he even want to life tap towards? A
Probably the
Reaver?
Hooked Reaver.
Is it just Hooked Reaver? Because then that's very low odds given what's the case here. Wow, life
Go
tap.
for it.
Doesn't get it. Spellstone, gain life back.
I kind of feel like you have to life tap in that scenario.
Yeah, I think you
Orange's hand does not
it's-
get there right now.
You need better cards. You need to get the Hooked Reaver. I mean, Blood Reaver Gul'dan is also something that you need to really like fight for because your opponent's just going to whittle you down. And at this point, if I'm BloodyFace, I'm just going to try to set up for the best possible pressure scenarios. So Devilsaur Egg is a really interesting pickup because it allows BloodyFace to set up boards to hero power and maybe start getting past his opponent's AoE. When you play things like Spider Bomb and Devilsaur Egg together, it makes Hellfire very complicated on your opponent's side. And they can't develop like big taunt minion because Spider Bomb will easily trade into it.
Yeah, I'm really liking the Spider Bomb Devilsaur Egg hero power. Keep pushing that hero power every turn. Like you said, Spider Bomb on the board will, you know, make it a little bit awkward. Maybe BloodyFace has a read that Orange's hand is very awkward, especially because, you know, his play was just a Vulgar Homunculus, Life Tap, and Spellstone. If he had Hooked Reaver, he most certainly would have played it there. BloodyFace is going to go for it. Oh, not even Mossy Horror is good into this.
Mossy Horror increases the power on the board.
Mossy Horror gives him lethal.
Oh. Does that change anything? Because you can taunt behind it, and then the Spider Bomb isn't guaranteed.
But he could put another Spider Bomb.
Right.
Onto the Spider Bomb.
He doesn't know that, but
That is fair.
it is true. If he does end up playing that Mountain Giant plus Sun Fury, he can stack the Spider Bombs and guarantee the clear and then push damage. If that's the case...
But then at that point, wouldn't you just play the Lich King?
Exactly. Also, if that's the case, you think that you can clear into clear, you might as well just get Lich King for a more impactful card.
I think the only reason to do that is to try and life tap as well. If you wanted to fit in a life tap, that would give you the versatility to do that if you went for the Mountain Giant Sun Fury play.
That's true.
But, you know, I think it's Hail Mary time. I think Orange plays Lich King and says, please.
Dread Inferno.
Okay, this is like a different version.
Well, I think he anticipates this. Oh my goodness. Katharina can just be the end of the game. And it has a pretty good chance of pulling out the Charged Devilsaur or the King Crush.
Okay.
There's already a Witchwood Grizzly, so the chances are you'd pull out something that could attack immediately. Now, if this kills the Dread Infernal, still 2 life. Oh, man.
And Orange has to find a way to manage this board
Nah, he's
and
dead.
heal.
Oh, he found lethal. That is game number 5, BloodyFace. The runner-up of the Fall Championships improves to a 3-0 score, taking down Orange in a nail-biter of a series.
Right about now, the funk soul brother, check it out.